Hello everybody, welcome to I Read Sometimes. Happy Friday, happy Friday. Today I am back with another book review, Amazon book review. We are reviewing Full Circle by Gabisile Dlamini. So yeah, it's a book written in third person, and over here it is about Udeli, short for Udeliwe, right? Who comes back from Africa after 8 years of living in Paris. She escaped to Paris 8 years ago after being ghosted by the love of her life, Umenzi, right? So Udeliwe is from Eswatini, and Umenzi is a guy from KZN, being ghosted by the love of her life. She moved to Paris, and then only when she was in Paris did she find out that she is pregnant with twins. So that was difficult. And Umenzi, the reason why Umenzi ghosted her, and then she eventually found out through Menzi's mother that Menzi had gotten married to someone else. So that's the reason for ghosting. But there are, as you read, it gets unraveled as to why exactly did he marry someone else instead of her, and all of that fun stuff, right? And then when she arrived at Paris, she did discover that she's pregnant with twins, and now that she's back in South Africa, Umenzi discovers her and discovers the kids and wants to be in the kids' lives, right? The kids are now 8. Menzi didn't even know they existed. So that is what the book is about. It's a pretty simple premise, but the book in and of itself is written so nice, and it makes the story actually very nice. It's a typical story of a woman being ghosted and becoming a single mother, but how Udeli goes about it isn't like the sort of bitter single mother, I wasn't married by the guy, right? So yeah, Deli's a pretty cool person, and the biggest thing I actually liked, besides the love story, because I am a hopeless romantic, is the relationship Udeli has with her kids. Like, other people might read certain parts where she's like bonding with her kids or just having like a weekend with her kids as like filler things, like filler chapters, but they're so nice. It shows that she's a great mother and she always puts the needs of her kids first. And that was the love story I actually enjoyed more than her love story with Umenzi, right? So it's really nice. She's an amazing mother. And she, as much as you think that she was bitter for going to Paris, she wasn't actually bitter that Umenzi ghosted her. She was hurt. She wasn't bitter that Menzi ghosted her and married someone else. She just wanted to get away from Eswatini because now her family was asking, but what happened to this guy? Because you guys were close. Her friends were asking what happened, and she didn't know at the time. She couldn't tell people. So she just wanted to escape, and Paris wasn't going to be her plan wasn't that Paris was going to be the whole 8 years. She just wanted a couple of months to escape and just work someone else and then come back, right? And the reason why she also wanted to escape is because their relationship was actually really good, in the sense that her father and family and friends knew about Umenzi, and Menzi also took her home quite often. So they would drive down when Menzi needed to go back home. They've driven down to South Africa. There's a chapter where she describes all of that, and she's like reminiscing and she's crying about it. There's a chapter where they just drive down and they stop in every garage, and it's like a nice love story. And she meets the mother, and the mother is in love with Udeli, and then going from that to suddenly this guy ghosts you and then marries someone else. So Menzi first meets Udeli alone, right? And then sees the kids, and obviously the kids look like him through and through, right? But still, he didn't want to ask, are the kids mine? And Deli also didn't want to make it easy for him and tell him that, hey, these kids are yours, right? So there's a way that establishes the paternity of these kids. So there's Umenzi buys the kids ice cream floats while trying to talk to Udeli. Yeah, but tries to just be, you know how adults will be nice and sort of buy kids something, right? So he buys them ice cream floats, and in order to say thank you, there's a certain way, like us Africans, when you're saying thank you to someone, let's say you had bought me an ice cream float, and then in order to say thank you, sorry, in order to say thank you to you, I would say your clan names. I would recite some of your clan names, right? Oh, instead of the kids saying thank you to Menzi, reciting Udeli's clan names, because you would sort of expect that the kids are using her clan names. Deli had taught the kids that their clan names is Ukumalo, which is Menzi's clan name, right? So she wasn't, I don't know how to explain this, but basically she had taught the kids their paternity early on without them actually noticing that, okay, you're telling me that my father is Ukumalo. So they knew that they were belonged to Ukumalo. So when they were reciting their clan names to say thank you to Menzi, because they didn't know Menzi's clan names, Menzi was like, wait, how do you know my clan names? I'm Kumalo, so how did you guys know? And the kids were like, no, that's just because they are our clan names. We have the same clan names, without properly realizing that these are their kids, right? So that's how they establish paternity, which just proves that Deli isn't bitter, man. She isn't bitter, she was just hurt. In my opinion, it doesn't only represent a healthy love, romantic love between Udeli and Umenzi. It also represents a healthy love overall. Another relationship that I like is between Deli and her father, right? There's something that happens with Menzi's family and Deli's family, and which upsets Udeli quite a bit, right? And there's a nice part where Deli's father apologizes to Udeli in the most like heartfelt way that you wouldn't expect someone as old, like an old man, an old father as him. You know that normally African parents or like strict parents don't apologize to their kids, but this man apologizes. I highlighted it. He's like, hi baby, I hope you're not still mad at me. I'm not even going to try and explain what happened. I'm just sorry it hurt you. I miss you and my grandchildren. We all do. And it was so heartfelt that it was a phone conversation. It was so heartfelt. I'm like a real father, like a very sweet father who apologizes. Oh, another healthy relationship is the relationship that Menzi's family has with Udeli and the kids, even though they are asking themselves in their minds that why did this girl wait for like 8 years? She could have called the mother if she didn't get access to Umenzi, called someone. As much as they are having those questions, and you as the reader also have those questions that, okay, exactly what's going on, but they don't impose those views or get angry at Udeli. They all just come together and treat Udeli in a really nice way. Treat her like they were treating her when she was still Menzi's girlfriend. There's no bitterness about it. You don't get Udabs or one of Menzi's sisters saying, hi, well, girl, you did this to our family, we deserve rights to the kids. No one is like fighting for anything. They're just being healthy for the sake of the kids, right? It overall represents healthy relationships and connections between Africans, between two black families. And just on the relationship that Deli has with her twins, which is my favorite love story, because she's an amazing mom and her kids are like well behaved, man. They're like nice little individuals. I like them. She's also, Gabisile, the author, is also very funny in certain parts, especially parts that are relating to the kids, right? There's a part where it says, by now the kids were moaning about starving, right? It surprised her that such tiny people could eat so much so often. Like, she's an amazing mom, and there's a time when the kids, after they find out that, okay, this guy Menzi's our father, they start having questions of their own, right? And they start asking like, why haven't we met him and stuff like that. And there's a note that Udeli says, she's like, the thought of lying to them has never crossed her mind. And it surprised her that before this day they had never even asked if they had a father, which represents that these kids were so happy and content for 8 years that it didn't even cross their mind that other kids have fathers. Like, well, maybe it did cross their minds, but because they were so happy and so well taken care of, I don't think they viewed a space in their lives that they now have to feel like they should ask, where's our father, what happened, and stuff like that. They're only asking it now that they've met Umenzi and they're like, this guy says he's our father. Like, mom, how true is that? So she's a really good mother, man, and the kids are really sweet kids. And you see how well Delhi has raised her kids and how like sweet the kids are through one interaction where Delhi's now sending the kids to KZN to see their father's side of the family for the first time, and they're having an interaction with their grandmother, which is Menzi's mother, right? And Menzi's mother, because the kids aren't used to these people, they sort of cling to Udeli as the mother, right? So Udeli is also trying to get them to be free to go to the grandmother and say hi to everyone in a very smart way. And everyone in the room is understanding and being careful of the fact that we need to respect these kids' boundaries, and if they're not comfortable with coming or hugging anyone, let's just let them be, right? But then there's one smart thing that the grandmother, Umenzi's mother, does. She's like, hey, I've got sweets. Would you guys like sweets, right? So as to break the ice. And this is all happening with Delhi being there, and they always make eye contact just to make sure that the mother's comfortable with whatever they're saying or doing with regards to the kids, right? And the baby boy, the twins, gets comfortable quicker than the baby girl, right? So the grandmother's trying to get the baby girl out of her shell and not be shy to say hey, hi, specifically to her, the grandmother. So she offers sweets to the baby girl, and the baby girl goes to get her sweets, but because she's uncomfortable, it's sort of not nice at first. She's not being like, those nice, pleasant children, right? But there is a part where she gets the sweets, starts walking back to her mother, and then this is the part, I'll read it for you. It says, she starts to walk back to her mother, stops halfway, and went back to her grandmother and said, would you like a sweet, grandma? She asked, offering her one of the sweets. And then the grandma says, yes, please, Mdukul. Thought you would, she says, though you will have to unwrap it for me since I am old, right? So the grandma is trying to have some interaction with this child to get her to do an activity so that she's more comfortable around her, right? Replies Menzi's mom, oh, Gogo, you're not that old, laughs Fleur. The kids have French names, right? So Fleur is the baby girl. So she laughs and unwraps the sweets and pops it into her grandmother's mouth, and somehow in the process manages to end up in her grandmother's lap, right? So that small interaction got Fleur comfortable to sort of chill with her grandmother and be on her lap. And the grandmother's quite a sweet person as well. So that interaction alone, the fact that she got the sweet from the grandmother, started walking back to her mom, but midway remembers that, hey, I need to have manners, I need to share. So she asked the grandmother, the person who gave her the sweet, that would you like a sweet as well? Which is sweet because you would sort of assume that the person giving you sweets has already had the sweets themselves. So the fact that the child is willing to share with her grandmother and also like makes a joke that you're not old, which is very sweet, just proves that the kids are very well mannered and well behaved and are kind kids. And it reflects well on Udeli. It reflects well on her and how she's raised these kids, because her kids are kind and they're very thoughtful little human beings, man. And another thing that sets this book as a romance book aside, or sets it like apart from other romance books, is the relationship Udeli and Menzi has, right? in other romance books, you will find that there is quite a bit of toxicity, right? It's either, and it's always to do with the man. The man is some rich guy who has some sort of fetish or beats the woman up, or there's something wrong mentally. They need a therapist more than they need the love story that they are in, right? And I get that from those books. It's sort of, it's nice to read about it and it not being your own experience. I also like reading books like that where it is romanticized. This toxic love is sort of romanticized, and then it's up to you as the reader to actually see that no, something's wrong with the story, right? I wouldn't want this for myself. And so yeah, the difference with this story is that Udeli and Menzi, their relationship is actually, in my opinion, a very healthy one. They communicate. There is a chapter where they fight. They communicate like very well. He just ghosts her from no apparent reason, and even when they reconnect 8 years later, the communication isn't toxic from either one of them. Like, no one is trying to, Menzi is not trying to now use certain unhealthy tactics to get her attention or to tell her story. Like, he notices that, okay, Delhi's probably not ready to have this conversation, so let me just have conversations that we're ready for, like the kids, right? And then when the time is right, he will now explain himself, right? It is quite healthy. They understand each other quite a bit, and it was nice. It was nice to read. It was nice to read even though the 8 years ghosting, in my opinion, in my opinion, that was the toxic part of it, that he should have been able to communicate that, hey, this is the reason why I need to marry another woman, and not just ghost her. That was, in my opinion, the biggest issue with their relationship. But apart from that, because that's the main sort of storyline, that the ghosting is the reason why the story actually happens, right? But besides that, their relationship is quite healthy. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. It was a realistic South African love story. There wasn't any extraordinary rich guy savior. Another thing I don't particularly like is the man being the savior, damsel in distress narrative, which a lot of romance books always hold or have. Over here, it was just girl meets boy. They fall in love, and then boy ghosts girl. She gets pregnant, and then like they meet again. It was a very simple premise, but there was greatness in its simplicity. I really liked it. And I would highly advise that you guys read it, or any romance book in particular, right? But yeah, that is it from Full Circle by Gabisile Dlamini. Thank you.